Hey guys. Hi. Sorry I missed you yesterday. I've had a lot going on. Good stuff and bad stuff. But we're going to talk today about the fact that spirit and religion are not the same thing. And it's only going to be about 20 minutes because I've got to do stuff. But I do have exciting news I thought I'd share up top. If you don't know me already, I'm Linda K. Gifford. I'm a CSA survivor. CSA stands for Childhood Sexual Assault. I also have CPTSD. The C stands for complex, which is something that happens with children who are subjected to repeated trauma. The good news is that I just spent 2.5 hours talking with the largest publicist of self-help books in the world. Directly, him, not a representative. And a producer for Oprah and CNN and a bunch of, a freelance producer who, he's a sweetheart. And he's been taking good care of me since I broke my foot and injured the meniscus in my right leg recently. But anyway, I've been writing this book for a couple years. Now it's up to like 3 books worth of material. I started working on this e-course and talking with this publicist over a year ago. And I really, really, really wanted to be in the lineup that they're going to present to a bunch of other producers of podcasts, TV shows, Good Morning America, Ellen, Oprah, all these people. And I've got a spot now. In June. So I'm freaking out a little bit here. It's a good day. What I do is I teach my spades program, which is, I call it surviving in spades because spades means abundance, and it jumped out at me when I was looking for a way to describe what I'm teaching and to make it memorable. And I want you to live your life in abundance. And you don't have to, as I talk about all the time, you don't have to be defined by being a sexual assault survivor, whether it was childhood sexual assault or anything else. Even if you just suffer from a low self-esteem and self-worth issues, if you were abandoned, if you were mistreated, malabused as a child, you don't need to live that way. And it becomes very difficult to, it's very difficult without training in therapy to constantly separate the past from the present enough to stop having the CPTSD experiences. And it was driving me mad in my life. And I also had 3 marriages and divorces, and I didn't understand what was going wrong. I thought I picked nice people. I see now that I did have some choosing issues based on my own self-worth. But basically, as I was talking about last week at length, and we'll always talk about, I have learned that CSA survivors like myself, we lack an understanding of what intimacy even is. Therefore, we don't seek it. We substitute sex for intimacy, and we think we're being intimate, and we know we feel love in our hearts, and we know we're trying to have a loving relationship, but we're giving so much of ourselves without receiving anything at all because we have not taught ourselves that receiving is even a thing. Some people are really like, oh, you have to choose to receive, choose to put yourself first. But what I'm finding about myself in therapy, because as I always say, I am not a therapist, I have a therapist. I'm a survivor like you, but I maybe have a 20-year jump start on therapy and learning this most important thing to me right now. I'm dwelling on it a lot lately because now that I have discovered what I think is the root of most of our adult problems in CPTSD, it's this lack of ever choosing who we were ever going to be intimate with. Therefore, we don't even know it exists. We know the word, but if you haven't had the opportunity, like people who weren't, sexually assaulted the first time they had sex, if you had the opportunity to make what I always call a very bad choice. Almost everybody's first sexual choices are bad, but at least they made them themselves based on a desire to be there, a real desire. But when that is something that you've never experienced, when sex came with fear and judgment and shame and too young to even understand it, when sex came like that, you just missed the whole intimacy part. And you think sex and love are things that are supposed to go together. And like me and people, one of the myths about CSA survivors is that we don't like sex and we're not sexual. That's not at all the case. And many times it's the reverse. We have substituted sex for love so efficiently that we don't even know intimacy and sex go together. We don't even know what true intimacy in sex is. And that is critical to being able to receive, and receiving is critical in being able to give. So this whole week is about the last S in spades, and then we'll start again next week with the first S in spades. The first S is the shame is not yours. The P is separate the past from the present. The A is ask for what you want. Don't just take what's given in life. And that's across the board from the boardroom to the bedroom. I need to change that so I don't say bored twice in that sentence, but you know what I mean. The D is don't wait to feel okay to be okay. You're a normal CSA survivor. You're never going to be over it, but you're also okay. You are also an okay CSA survivor. So, like I like to say, in a cruel, harsh way, some have accused me, deal. Don't compare crosses. Don't compare your cross to someone else's. Don't be miserable about what happened to you forever. Like we talked about at length last week, educating and advocating is my way, and a good way to deal with your anger and your frustration that it continues. I am so pissed off at society for perpetuating the kind of circumstances that got me abused. And abused is the wrong word. I was assaulted. Sexual assault should not be called abuse. I will say this every time I'm on here. Change the language to reflect what you really mean. And when we say we were sexually abused, it sounds like, it's like the difference between that and that, Were you abused or were you fucking assaulted? Pardon my language. I'm trying not to do that. I was assaulted, and every sexual assault survivor I know was assaulted, not abused. So that brings us past last week's educate and advocate to this week, which is spirit. Now, some people have a huge aversion to the idea of religion and spirit, and I'm here to tell you they are not the same thing. I believed I was an atheist for a long time, and then I discovered that I wasn't. I discovered when my sister had a car wreck and almost died, I discovered prayer. And I was praying to something. So I have redefined God to me. And my father was actually a minister who gave up the ministry. He was a Methodist ministry, and he gave up the ministry to become a counselor. But he was always spiritual, and he taught us, thank God, and I mean that sincerely, no blasphemy, he taught us that love and goodness and kindness are the things that we have in common, that religions have in common. But then someone saw it as a way to control someone, and so they added power. So the part of your religion that you can embrace is the part that doesn't marginalize women. It's the part that doesn't call it culture to arrange marriages. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If your daddy's deciding who's going to get in your vagina, your daddy's a sick pervert, whatever culture you're from. It's not culture to subjugate women. It is patriarchal to subjugate women and call it culture. Got it? Let's say that again. Repeat with me. Okay? You can keep your religion if you realize that your religion is a cultural construct, and that at the core of it is love and goodness and kindness. Keep that. That's the spirit. Keep your inner spirit. Keep your inner being. Keep your love and your desire to be loved. But for God's sake, don't respect anybody, any culture that disguises, or any patriarchy that disguises itself as culture. That can't happen. So back to the top, if you're just joining in, I'm so excited. I have to say it again. I just spent 2.5 hours talking with my soon-to-be publicist. I have spent the last year working on and living up to the requirements that the leading publicist of self-help nonfiction books in the world. They do the Bone Broth Diet. They do Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They do Kellyanne's, that's the Bone Broth Diet. They do Chicken Soup for the Soul. These major books are publicized and have gotten off the ground by Steve Harrison, and that is who I am going with. And today, after talking with him and a producer who works for all kinds of people, she books interviews for CNN and Oprah and others, and yay, I'm in. I will be crowdfunding. I will be crowdfunding because taking them on is going to cost me a little bit, but I'll tell you what, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. To have made the cut, I would beg, steal, or borrow the money to give them to have made the cut with these people. So pretty happy about that we're going to be able to get the message out to more people. And my goal in life, the reason I do all of this besides my own sanity, and I up top admit, I do this to stay sane, to not be angry all the time. I'm pointing my finger where it belongs. This is part of the first S in spades, my spades program. I have to tell myself every day that the shame is not mine. Every day. I have never shed that, despite therapy, whatever. If that scares you, maybe you should find someone else to coach you. But I don't really think of myself so much as a coach, as a person who's been there, and I've just got some tips and tricks. And I've come through 3 marriages and divorces and a lot of struggles and learned things to the point that I actually am in a real relationship that involves actual intimacy and sex together. And it's a whole nother ballgame. I don't know if you're like me, but I thought I was good at sex. I thought I had it down. I could do it without crying or having major CPTSD. I would have CPTSD events happen all the time during sex, but I hid them. And I thought that was great. Look at me hiding my CPTSD from my lover/husband. Bad idea. Bad idea. You've got to tell the truth. You don't have to tell every detail of what happened to you, because that's just going to make them have PTSD too. They don't need to know that. They just need to know that you have a struggle. And if you aren't honest with your partner, you're just going to wither up inside. You're going to be constantly trying to live up to them and hope they don't find out. I just so much didn't want anyone to find out what happened to me that when they did, when my second husband decided after counseling, after our counselor cut him off and said he's a pathological liar, after he admitted to raping his ex while he was engaged to me, admitted it in counseling, she's like, you need to get rid of this one. And then it turned into sexual assault counseling, which we used to call sexual abuse counseling. But remember, we're changing to assault because you were not abused, you were assaulted. If you were raped as a child, you were assaulted. If you were forced to do sex acts as a child, you were assaulted. If you were touched inappropriately, you were assaulted. That's not abuse. So, all that being said, I hated God, is what I realized. I didn't not believe in God. I fucking hated them. And coming to a realization of what true spirit is, let me open my heart back up. And instead of, I spent most of my life trying to have nobody know my dirty secret. And now I spend most of my life making damn sure everybody does. So that other children don't have to go through what we did. I need a moment. I was just accused by a friend today of always talking about myself, being self-centered, trying to mislead people on here into thinking I'm a doctor. She berated me for saying CSA without even stopping to ask the question. We'll get shadow banned if we actually put, I can't spell sex on the screen. If I say anything about sex, if you're on here on TikTok, you have to put S space E space. You have to change it. You have to change the spelling. We're not even allowed to talk about what happened to us without getting shadow banned. So if you got a friend in your life who's maybe not a friend after all, maybe someone who just wants to berate you. I don't even understand why I got this barrage today. And then it was followed by a 2.5-hour Zoom meeting that was like the best thing that's happened to me as far as my propagating my future, So I'm going to let go of that person unless they want to come around. I'm going to let go. And I suggest you let go of anybody who gets in your face and tells you that what you are doing to save yourself and help other people is somehow selfish and bad. Okay? You're going to get this from lovers and husbands too if you picked them wrong, if you weren't honest with yourself and them right up front. You're going to end up with a narcissist because that's what survivors do. We always end up with people who shine brightly. And they pick us because we shine brightly too, because we're trying to make up for our past so hard that we try to be perfect. And they're like, oh, look at this shiny, bright, perfect person. And then pretty soon, really quickly, right away, they realize we're not. And they don't like us anymore because now we're not stroking them. We're not stroking them. Well, that's not a healthy basis for a relationship. But the predominant number of people I know who are like I am, a childhood sexual assault survivor, that's exactly the kind of relationships that we get into. And it sucks. You deserve to tell the truth. And if anybody judges you for your truth, remove them from your picture. It's like I was talking about a couple weeks ago. I always talk at length, actually, it will always come up, that I think the idea of manifestation should be replaced, at least for me, with the idea of removing. The way to create what you want in life is to remove from it what you don't. And that means negative people too. That means people who, for whatever reason, would rather shoot you when you're down, or tell you that you're not living up to them. What aren't you doing for me? These are the people that are like, how come you haven't made me happy? How come you haven't done this for me? How come you let me down? It's like, well, if you're in a real relationship that involves true intimacy, and that goes from the bedroom to just everyday life experiences, your partner should be someone you feel able to be intimate with. And how are you going to do that if you don't even know what intimacy is? Right? So this is a big problem, and I've decided to write an entire book. I've already got the next 3 books lined up to go. My first book is Self-Talk, My Continuing Efforts to Survive Childhood Sexual Assault. And then there's the trigger management course, Surviving in Spades. And it started out as how to get from trigger to happy. And now there's the book on spirit and social advocacy. And I think all of these things are important. So for those in my own family, and evidently someone who I thought was a very close friend who would really rather I just shut up about it, not going to happen. This is what I do for me, and it's also what I do for other people. And now, did I mention, I think I did, that the largest publicist of self-help books has said I definitely have a spot to interview with 75 people at a summit this June. There are 60 spots, 60 or 65 spots, and a whole lot of people want them. So super excited to be included in the mix. So excited. And for me to get everything done I need to do, I have to remove from my life everyone who's negative, everything that doesn't fit. You know, I'm broke my foot and had to quit my day job. Not quit exactly, but I'm off since February 13th. I'm falling into financial ruin. I can't advertise my business, feelgoodfairtrade.com. So please do spread Feel Good Fair Trade. Look it up, check it out, buy something, support the women artisans, please. I need your help to spread the word natively. But right now, no amount of poverty is going to get in my way of realizing that this is my chance. This is my opportunity to make a difference in the world for other people who have been sexually assaulted, especially those who spent years of their life as children being sexually groomed and assaulted to the point that they don't even have an understanding of how real relationships should work. I mean, it's hard enough if you're not a CSA survivor to figure out how relationships work, you know. But if you are, you need some skills. And we're going to work on that all week. So I said I'm going to keep it short today. I've got a lot going on, and I actually have a splitting migraine right now. Oh, I sell these. If I'm wearing it, I sell it. These are Aid for Trade. Actually, I don't have any of them right now because we're out. The cuffs, brass images. I also sell DZI meditation cuffs. The earrings are Artisana, Mexican silver and inlay. These happen to be the world, which I think is really freaking awesome. We've got parts of it at least. So support my store. And we're going to talk more about this intensively for the next 2 days. I think I'm going to stop doing Fridays and just do Monday through Thursday, because Fridays are just always it's just too harrowing. There's always a lot going on. But I need to take care of some deadlines, some stuff I need to do, and fix my taxes. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Just keep in mind that spirit and religion don't go hand in hand. Religion will try to convince you that you have to follow them to get to the spirit. But the spirit is what was there that it invented religion. Religions were invented by people feeling a spiritual sense about life and themselves and others. Then it got bastardized by power. Forget that. Forget that. And for God's sake, if you are a member of a culture who's trying, where your family member, your dad and your mom, especially your dad, are trying to tell you who's going to sleep with you, who's going to put their dick in your vagina, that's gross, sick, and in no way culture. That is not culture. That, my friend, is control. That is patriarchal control. No one should have the right to control what goes in and out of your vagina but you. You want to spend the rest of your life with somebody daddy picked for you? How do you know if you're sexually compatible if you don't have sex? You want to have sex with someone for the rest of your life? I said I was going to go, and here I am talking. But I get this all the time. I'm so sick of, God, I get on Quora just to argue sometimes with people who are like, and it's Christians and Jewish, conservative Christians and Jewish Orthodox, who are like, marriage isn't about love. Marriage is about perpetuating a religion. If your religion's telling you that, that's a control. That's not spirit. If it doesn't fit the mold of goodness, kindness, and love, it's not spirit. If it doesn't want to help other people, if it doesn't make you want to improve the conditions of other people all over the world, whatever their sex, whatever their gender, that's not spirit. If it's telling you that others who have a different lifestyle than yours are inherently wrong based on some rule book, that's not spirit. Spirit is not religion. That does not mean the religious can't have spirit. I'm just saying don't confuse the two. They are not interchangeable. Hopefully you take the goodness in your religion and reject the part that subjugates or marginalizes anybody else. That is your task. Let's talk about it more tomorrow, okay? Need to get going today. Bye-bye, guys.